Hi there, this is Professor Warsi. Today I have another lesson on adverbs, on understanding adverbs. And my goal is to introduce the topic and the purpose of why it's important to learn adverbs. So, with no further delay, let's get started. Okay, what's an adverb? Do you remember what a pronoun is? If you took my lesson on pronouns, you probably remember that the word pronoun has a prefix pro, which means for or to support nouns. Likewise, adverb means adding to the verb. So there is a verb and it is supported by an adverb. The adverb provides information to the reader or listener about how often, like how frequently, where, what place, when, a certain time when something happens. So we will go over each one of them in detail. For now, just learn that adverb modifies a verb. It may modify an adjective sometimes or another adverb. Though some examples of adverbs are quickly, very, well, and often. Okay? Basically, an adverb answers questions as to when something happened, where something happens, how and why it happens. So, for example, take the reading pre-test first. Like, when should I take the pre-reading test? When? It answers the question about time. Put these chairs in the basement. Where should I put these chairs? In the basement. So it's answered the question, where? Press gently the push button. How should I push this button? Gently. Don't push too hard. I have never hit anyone in my entire life. How often? Okay, never. And it is true, I have never hit anyone in my entire life. Okay, next up. You may be wondering, why is it important to use adverbs, right? When I write in English or when I speak. Well, adverbs add detail and they make sentences very clear to the reader or listener. So these examples that I have given below, they show you why adverbs should be used. Celine Dion, a very famous Canadian singer, you may remember her from the movie Titanic, My Life Will Go On. Celine Dion sings beautifully. How does she sing? She sings beautifully. So this answers the question, how, which is the manner. Jane often visits her uncle in Woodstock. Where? So it tells the reader the place where somebody goes or lives. Akiko left for Tokyo in the morning. When? So an adverb of time. When did she leave for Tokyo? In the morning. Reginald is going to South Africa next week. Where is he going? To South Africa. That's the place. She fought the intruder fiercely. To what extent? To what degree? So these are some examples that I hope convinces you why you should use adverbs. Okay? There are 5 types of adverbs, so it's important to know each one of them. The first is manner, how something is done, an action is taken. Fatima's sister always drives carefully, so she's a very careful driver, right? It's the manner in which Fatima drives. The second type of adverb is the adverbs of place, where. Students went downtown on a field trip. Where did students go? They went downtown. Time, when an action happens. She drinks a glass of protein shake every morning. Where does she drink protein shake? Every morning. So that's an adverb of time. Then there is the adverb of frequency. How often something happens. It tells the reader how often something happens. So like workout. Like how often? If someone asks you, how often do you work out? I work out at the local gym 4 times a week or twice a week or once a week. Right? And last but not least, degree. There are adverbs of degree. To what extent something happens. For example, Vivek sings incredibly well, right? To what extent? Really well. So the mnemonic niche below, which is, to help memory, my pet tiger finds delight. Repeat this mnemonic several times until you remember it. The M in my is for manner, pet for place, tiger for time, F for frequency, and D for degree. My pet tiger finds delight. Okay. So let's start with adverbs of manner. So the adverbs of manner shows how an action is done. Some examples of adverbs of manner are quickly, slowly, carefully, such as she walked slowly, right? So that's one example for your reference. The cat jumped. Can you use an adverb of manner to tell the reader how she jumped, the manner in which the cat jumped to maybe catch the butterfly? Okay, so do this exercise and we will move on. The second type of adverbs is adverbs of place. So it tells the reader where an action happens, like a place where something, an action takes place. Examples of places are here, there, outside, downtown, overseas. One sentence of an adverb of place is the kids are playing outside. Where are they playing? They're playing outside. Okay? So complete the activity below. I have given you one example for your reference and practice maybe. Go is a verb. Downstairs is an adverb. I'll go downstairs and see if I can find my dumbbells there. Okay? So 2, 3, 4, 5. I need you to complete those 4. Go is a verb. Downstairs is an adverb. Went, upstairs, moved, downtown, find, everywhere. Try to put together a sentence containing both the verb and the adverb. Okay? All right. Next up, adverbs of time. These adverbs describe when an action takes place. When, like what time it happens. So, for example, they'll arrive soon. When will they arrive? They'll arrive soon, maybe like 20 minutes or so. Correct? There is an activity just to make sure that you learn and practice and internalize this new knowledge that you have just acquired. We will discuss adverbs of frequency later. So what I have done is, if you see the asterisk at the beginning of the sentence above, frequency of discuss adverbs, we will. So flex your cerebral muscles. I've given you Tokyo in arriving his mom. Exam the take final rule students. Can you rearrange these words and use an adverb of frequency as I have done later, if you see the word in blue, and rewrite these sentences. There are 3. So I'll give you a few seconds to rearrange the words and write a grammatically correct sentence. Okay. Next up, adverbs of frequency. These adverbs describe how often something happens. Always, sometimes, usually, rarely, never. An example of an adverb of frequency is he rarely eats breakfast. Or I smoke sometimes. Not all the time, not always, not often, sometimes. So the activity for you to do is adding adverbs of frequency to the following sentences. So Julia travels to Europe, but something is missing, right? Like how often? How often does she travel? Laura drinks. My brother complains about the food. Unhappy married couples argue. Well, how often do they argue? Because they're not happily married couples. So use an adverb of frequency, right, in each of these sentences and make the meaning very clear to the reader. How often something happens, these verbs happen. Okay. Next up is adverbs of degree, like to what extent something happens, so something is done. Like what degree? Very, extremely, almost, to. She's very talented. Let's say this person is a singer, right? Or a pianist. She is very talented. Or this student is very intelligent. So the soup is extremely hot is an example for your reference. How hot? Extremely hot. Be careful. The soup is extremely hot. So in the sentences below, I need you to fill in the blanks with an adverb of degree. So practice, learn adverbs of degree. Okay, so let's look at some of the common adverbs and how they're used, right? Examples of commonly used adverbs are quickly, here, now, often, very, and some of them we have already reviewed today. Sometimes, always, never, occasionally, then, just. And there are some examples in context. For example, I always tell the truth. Or my sister never lies. She always tells the truth. Okay? So consider these examples. Give yourself a few seconds to absorb, review this, and then we will move on. Okay? All right. So there are double negatives that are very common in speech, in spoken form. Double negatives are when there's, in a sentence, there are two negative words. I can't, cannot, I cannot do it. That's a negative verb. And hardly is also negative. It means almost never, right? So the incorrect sentence is I can't hardly wait. It really should be I can hardly wait. See, so if you see I can hardly wait, there's only one negative adverb, hardly. And it's I can. But if you say I can't hardly wait, that's a double negative, right? So identify and correct the double negatives in the following sentences. See how you can fix it. I never tell my mother nothing about my love affairs. How would you fix this sentence and make it grammatically correct and avoid the double negatives? Okay? All right. This is a very important rule in English. In most cases, okay, an adjective can be turned into an adverb. You can transform adjectives in English into adverbs by simply adding the suffix ly, ly. Let's look at some examples to understand this. Happy is an adjective, right? Like I'm happy, she's happy, my wife is happy. You add ly to it and happy becomes happily. So she's happy about being promoted. That happy is an adjective, but if you add ly to it, it becomes an adverb. She happily accepted the job offer, right? So most adjectives, beautiful becomes beautifully, polite becomes politely. So remember this rule. It's a very important rule in English. Most adjectives, I just said before, can be transformed into adverbs by adding ly. There are some exceptions, right? Such as she speaks good English versus she speaks English well. Now, there are some people, I need you to know, they say, oh, you speak English good, which is grammatically incorrect, even though quite a few people say this sentence. She speaks English good. It really should be she speaks good English, because good, there is an adjective that modifies English, which is a noun, right? But well, she speaks English well. Well, there is an adverb, right? Which adds more information to the verb speaks. You could also say, I'm not feeling well. I am not feeling well. Even though some people may say, I'm not feeling good, which is very common. But I need you to understand the rule. According to grammar, it should be, I am not feeling well, because well is an adverb. Okay? Now, can you do the exercise below? I've given you one example. Beautiful is an adjective, and I added the ly suffix, made it beautifully, and I've given you a sentence. Shakira sings Spanish songs beautifully. Now, can you do the exercise? Look at all of the adjectives: skillful, aggressive, polite. So transform them into adverbs and then use a sentence for each one of them using the adverbs. Okay? You can just consider the example that I've given you just to understand how to write a sentence with adverbs. All right? Okay. So here is one mini exercise for you. Identify the adverbs. For examples, she quickly ran outside to see the fireworks. So quickly is an adverb of manner. Ran is a verb. Where did she run to? She quickly ran outside. So outside is a place. Why did she run outside? She wanted to see the fireworks. Okay? So I need you to do the same as I have done. Identify adverbs in the sentence that I've given you below and specify their type. So just as I did, she quickly is an adverb of manner. And outside is an adverb of place. I need you to read the sentence carefully, identify the adverbs, and in parentheses write the type of adverb they are. Okay? All right. So I'm going to leave you with this exercise now. Read the following passage. See if you can identify all of the adverbs and write their type next to it, just as I have done. The students eagerly participate in the science experiment. So eagerly, there is an adverb. What kind of adverb is it? It's a manner adverb. All right? So take some time, do this exercise carefully, read the passage carefully once, maybe twice, and then complete the exercise. Identify the adverbs. Okay, so here are the answers. I hope you did everything right. You got most of the answers correctly. Okay, and look at the adverbs and the types there are. Read the whole passage carefully, and let's summarize now. The summary, what did we learn today? Let's sum it up. We learned that adverbs modify verbs, right? They add more information, and there could be manner in which something is done, where, place, how often, what time something happens. So manner, place, time, frequency, and degree. And lastly, try to avoid double negatives, right? And use the correct adverbs for clarity in sentences. Okay, keep practicing. Remember, practice makes perfect. How do you practice? Not just adverbs, but speaking and writing in English? Well, simply by practicing. So read a lot. Try to read something in English every day and write even just a short paragraph. I often say to my students that a day of bad writing is better than a day of no writing. So even if it's just a few sentences, write in English, practice writing. Okay? Please subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the lesson and click on the bell icon for notifications. Take care. Bye-bye.